A man abducted 4 6th-grade girls. But here's the eerie part. The girls weren't harmed at all. Instead, the culprit locked himself in the room and committed suicide by burning charcoal. What's even more bizarre, the police ignored all the red flags and closed the case in a hurry. Was there a powerful figure pulling the strings behind the scenes, or did the culprit have a sudden change of heart? Today, we're diving into Japan's Little Angels case. To unpack this story, we start with a man named Hirotaro Kiri. In 2003, 30-year-old Kiri seemed completely ordinary on the surface. But secretly, he ran a shady business, a storefront-free dating club for minors called Little Angels. This wasn't any legitimate venue. Kiri hired female high school students as scouts, sending them to youth hubs like Shibuya and Shinjuku to hand out flyers to underage girls. The flyers promised tempting payouts: 5,000 Japanese yen for karaoke accompaniment, 10,000 yen for providing underwear, and 10,000 yen for nude photography. For young, impressionable girls, that money was too tempting to resist. Kiri lured these minors in, introduced them to male clients, and even sold explicit videos, raking in a fortune. Fast forward to July 2003, Kiri struck up a conversation with a girl on a social platform. Let's call her Girl A. They met at a cafe and chatted for about an hour. The vibe was friendly enough. Before leaving, Kiri gave the 6th grader a sum of cash and said gently, "Thank you for listening to me." With his generous spending and decent looks, Kiri quickly won the girl's heart. She thought she'd met a real-life Prince Charming straight out of a TV show. They kept flirting over text in the days that followed. On the same afternoon, Kiri sold his sports car for 25 million Japanese yen. Then, using the alias Yamazaki, he rented apartment 1101 at Akasaka International Plaza Tower 1, a top-floor 2 LDK unit with sweeping views but hidden away from prying eyes. Yamazaki was the name on the lease, but Kiri footed the bill. Rumors later claimed Yamazaki was the owner of a high-end club in Roppongi with ties to Japan's Kanto Union gang syndicate. But the police never confirmed this, and Yamazaki's true identity remains a mystery to this day. The day after renting the apartment, July 12, Kiri went to a Tokyo department store and bought some strange items: plastic buckets, metal racks, handcuffs, and a charcoal brazier with charcoal for burning. On Saturday, July 13, Kiri texted Girl A, "I just rented a new apartment and it's a bit messy. Can you and some friends come help clean? I'll pay each of you 10,000 yen. That was a huge sum for elementary school kids. The girl didn't think twice. She rounded up 3 of her friends, and the 4 met Kiri as planned in front of Shibuya Station. Kiri was extremely warm and welcoming, leading the girls into a taxi that took them straight to the Akasaka apartment. Once inside, the girls picked up brooms to start cleaning. Then Kiri's attitude did a 180-degree flip. The smile vanished from his face instantly. He stared at the girls with cold, icy eyes and said, "You know you're not here to clean, right?" The girls panicked and tried to run, but Kiri blocked their way. He pulled out the handcuffs and blindfolds he'd prepared in advance, shackling all 4 girls and covering their eyes, then locking them in separate corners of the room. 2 girls refused to give up. They tried to fight back and escape while Kiri wasn't looking, but he caught them right away. To stop them from trying again, Kiri hung plastic buckets and metal racks from their handcuffs to weigh them down, making it impossible for them to even walk properly. He threatened them with a stun gun, snarling, "Move again and I'll shock you." The next 4 days were an endless nightmare for the girls. Trapped in the dim, dark apartment, they got only scraps of food and water each day, living in constant fear of what Kiri would do next. Kiri acted like a madman, silent and brooding one minute, screaming at the girls the next. He forced them to perform humiliating acts and filmed everything with a camera. Their cries and pleas were muffled by the thick walls. The outside world had no idea what was happening. Meanwhile, outside the apartment, the girls' families were beside themselves with worry. When the girls failed to come home, their parents called the police and filed missing person reports. But the police couldn't identify Kiri as a suspect right away. They could only search the area around Shibuya, where the girls were last seen, and the case hit a dead end. On July 15, multiple Japanese media outlets reported the disappearance of the 4 elementary school girls, sparking nationwide concern. The public demanded the police find the girls quickly. and the media tracked every development. Overnight, the abduction became the biggest news story in Japan. No one expected the nationwide frenzy to be abruptly shut down by an invisible hand. On July 16, the case took its first shocking turn. That morning, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department obtained an arrest warrant for Hirotaro Kiri, accusing him of soliciting a second-year middle school girl for prostitution back in March 2002. Officers were dispatched to stake out Kiri's residence, but before they could find him, something unexpected happened. At around 9 a.m., Kiri set up a makeshift tent with plastic sheeting in the Akasaka apartment's living room. He climbed inside, lit the charcoal, and took his own life. No suicide note, no explanation. He ended his life hastily, leaving the case shrouded in mystery. After Kiri died, the charcoal fire slowly burned out, and silence fell over the room. The girls didn't dare make a sound at first. It wasn't until they heard nothing more that they dared to test the waters cautiously. In the early morning of July 17, one girl, taking advantage of Kiri's death, summoned all her strength to break free from her handcuffs. She quietly opened the door and ran for her life. She sprinted down the street and rushed into a small flower shop downstairs to beg for help. When the police arrived, they quickly rescued the other 3 girls and confirmed Kiri's death. The 4 girls escaped without life-threatening physical injuries, but they were left with indelible psychological trauma. They were rushed to the hospital for treatment and counseling. On paper, the case was closed. The culprit was dead, the victims were rescued. It seemed like a neat, tidy ending. But if you stop and think about it, there are way too many unanswered questions. Why did Kiri kidnap the girls? And since he bought the charcoal brazier and charcoal beforehand, had he planned to kill himself all along? Who was the mysterious Yamazaki, really? What's even more disturbing is that the police uncovered chilling new clues during their subsequent investigation. At Kiri's rental home in Kuki City, Saitama Prefecture, they found over 1,000 videotapes and a client list containing more than 2,000 names. Most of the tapes were explicit videos shot by Kiri, featuring dozens of underage girls. And the client list? It exposed a massive network of powerful figures, including Japanese politicians, business tycoons, lawyers, doctors, and other high society elites. The discovery sent shockwaves through Japan. Everyone expected the police to follow the list, uncover the protectors behind the scenes, and blow the lid off the entire underage dating club ring. But to everyone's disappointment, the police only investigated for a few days before announcing that most names on the list were pseudonyms impossible to verify. The investigation was abruptly terminated. Even weirder, the media, which had been covering the case non-stop, suddenly went completely silent. Newspapers and TV stations that had been splashing the girls' disappearance and case updates on their front pages and headlines stopped mentioning it entirely, as if the case had never happened. These bizarre actions made more and more people suspect that powerful forces were exerting pressure behind the scenes. Kiri was likely just a scapegoat, while the real masterminds got away scotangent-free. The Little Angels case remains one of Japan's most controversial, unsolved mysteries precisely because it leaves so many questions unanswered. First, Kiri's Little Angels Club exploited countless underage girls and catered to high-profile clients. A criminal operation like this could never have run for long without protection from powerful backers. The police's conclusion that Kiri acted alone just because he killed himself is far too hasty. Second, there's the rumor linking Yamazaki to the Kanto Union gang. While the police never confirmed it, insiders claimed Yamazaki really was the owner of a Roppongi high-end club with close ties to the Kanto Union, one of Japan's largest gang syndicates, with deep roots in Tokyo's entertainment and real estate industries. Running an underage dating club was likely just one of the gang's money-making schemes. Kiri was probably just a frontman for the gang, and when things went south, he was silenced or forced to kill himself, allowing Yamazaki and the Kanto Union to walk away unscathed. To this day, no one can say for sure whether Kiri's suicide was voluntary or staged as a homicide. After all, there was no suicide note and no evidence at the scene to prove he chose to die by his own hand. Third, there's the client list that the police refused to investigate thoroughly. A list of over 2,000 names can't possibly be all pseudonyms. Even if some were fake, there must have been real names on it. So why didn't the police dig deeper? Were they truly unable to find the truth, or were they too afraid to? Keep in mind, these names belong to political and business elites who controlled enormous social resources and power. Exposing them could have caused massive upheaval in Japanese society. Many people suspect the police were pressured by higher-ups to shut down the investigation, while the media was warned off by authorities to stop reporting on it. This selective silence only confirms that the list hides unspeakable secrets. Beyond these unsolved questions, another incident sparked huge controversy after the case. On the 18th of July 2003, Shozo Hiramochi, then a member of Japan's House of Councilors and minister in charge of disaster management, was asked about the case during a House of Representatives Budget Committee meeting. His response, "I can't even tell if these 4 girls are the perpetrators or the victims." The comment sparked a public outcry. These were 4 sixth-grade girls who had been abducted, imprisoned, and abused. They were clearly victims. For a government minister to make such an irresponsible statement was like pouring salt on their wounds. Under intense public pressure, Hiramochi was forced to issue a public apology and retract his words. But the incident made many people question Japan's politicians' sincerity in protecting underage victims, and whether they were deliberately obfuscating the issue to cover for the powerful figures behind the case. The Little Angels case was quickly swept under the rug, but its impact lingers to this day. For the 4 victim girls, those 4 days of captivity became a lifelong trauma. Because the case involved minors, Japanese media never disclosed their names or identities. We'll never know how their lives unfolded after that, but we can imagine the immense effort it would take to overcome such a nightmare. They may have had to face judgmental stares from others, grapple with ongoing psychological pain, and perhaps even live in fear for the rest of their lives. But will we ever know the full truth? As internet users, we may never get the answers. All we can do is piece together clues from the details that emerged. Here's a theory I've been thinking about. Kiri bought the charcoal and other supplies before the abduction, which suggests he planned to kill himself from the start. So, is it possible that as the public face of Little Angels, he either crossed a powerful boss or had a sudden change of heart? Either way, as a mere pawn, he knew he would never get a happy ending and that his family might be in danger too. So maybe he decided to kidnap the girls to blow the case wide open. For example, the name Yamazaki, could he have been the boss who controlled Kiri, or the person Kiri had crossed? And that client list Kiri might have left it behind, hoping the police would follow the trail and expose the truth. There's one detail that supports this theory. Before the girl escaped to seek help, no one outside the apartment knew the girls had been kidnapped. But on the morning of July 16, the police obtained an arrest warrant for Kiri over the March 2002 prostitution charge. How did the police find out about that old case? Someone must have wanted the police to arrest Kiri on that charge. Sadly, Kiri's plan may have been well-intentioned, but the forces he was up against were far more powerful than he could have imagined. And behind Yamazaki, there might be an even murkier, deeper web of corruption. So that wraps up today's story. Thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts or theories, drop a comment below. Let's discuss them together. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.